and we're here in this amazing space, which is great, and it obviously looks hugely different from when you first came into contact with us. Yeah. Talk to us about phase one. What was this project about?
So this project was really about enabling Chris and James's dream. I guess that was the first part, making sure they were compliant in terms of legislation and the rules. They had clear ideas about what this space, how they wanted this space to be, and so it wasn't necessarily about us imposing a design ethos or a design thought on it, but really taking what they had in their heads and transposing that into something realistic, something real, making sure they were compliant in terms of access and fire and all the things you need to consider when you're opening a premises that is going to have people from the public here, and really just wrapping that all up, taking it all in terms of the brief they gave us, and then transposing that into a real proposal.
In terms of some of the challenges, what were some of the challenges with this project?
So the buzz was, as they said, when they first came here, the building was being used as a restaurant, and it has, as soon as I walked in, I went, yeah, this project has huge potential. It could be fantastic, but it was quite tired. And as they said, it had missed the keeping up with current legislation, so access was a problem for people with limited mobility, and so we had to think about that quite hard. There was also issues around fire protection that had to be both brought up to date in terms of the building as it was, but also the challenge of making sure what was new, what Chris and James were doing with the building was also compliant. Again, the bones of it were here. It had been left to idle, I guess, for 20 years, and so it's really just ripping out that idleness and making the building work a bit harder for them, and making sure it was fit for purpose.
What were some of the steps you had to go through to get it to not only be compliant, but to go through planning and everything that goes with it?
So the planning process was relatively straightforward because we weren't doing much to the building externally, apart from a few door changes and colour changes. The proposal wasn't particularly difficult for the planners or the ABF to understand, so that was quite simple. The spaces and how the guys kind of planned the building was great in terms of its openness, and so in terms of accessibility it was perfect. We're just making sure that routes were right, disabled toilets were right, everything was in the right place. And in terms of the fire, because it was being used as a building that was open to the public, there was kind of a base level there. We just kind of had to build on that, and the guys were keen to build again on what was the baseline, so that they were sure that their building was safe for people to come and use. And so the planning process was really making sure that everyone who was reviewing the documents was aware of what the process was, what the aspiration was, where we wanted to get to at the end. Understanding that our clients were more than happy to undertake anything they needed to do to make sure they were compliant and more. And so it was really, again, this idea of just being the go-between, acting as the bridge between our clients and the planners, the town hall, the ABF, the fire department, wrapping all that up into one package and making sure it was coherent, so everyone was singing from the same hymn sheet, I guess.
In terms of your clients, I mean, this kind of place that we are as a venue, is in terms of hospitality, you're probably used to restaurants or cafes or bars, and also places for people to stay. But what about having a brewery? Was that new to you?
It was the first brewery. No, it wasn't actually. It was the second brewery we'd done, except the first one was on a much less luxurious stage, I guess. It was a guy who was brewing beer up in the Pyrenees, interestingly, but he built his brewery in a big shed, so it was one big open space, and the brewing was his main activity, and the kind of the hospitality thing was a secondary thing. So it was the first time where the brewing was almost performance art, right? So the brewery part of this building is on show. It is the interest piece, the USP, and so it always creates an interesting idea in my mind when we want to develop a brewery. Great. What's it look like? Because the equipment is pretty cool from my geeky point of view to look at, and so understanding where that's going to go, how the space might be envisaged, and how it's ended up.
Were there any challenges with that?
It was only just the questions of structure, I suppose, with the existing building. I mean, brewery equipment is quite heavy. liquids are quite heavy. So making sure and understanding and just asking the question and making sure our clients ask the right questions in terms of the structural stability of the building was really only the main thing. There's not much. There were a few concerns about how accessible the brewery equipment might be to the public, but where it's ended up kind of in its own space is ideal. And so, yeah, working through that, it wasn't that complicated. It just adds another layer of kind of investigation, I guess, and research. And it's all about understanding how it's going to be used, how the guys want it to be viewed, and how interactive it was going to be. And so that, again, we can translate and make sure everyone who is reviewing the project understands that actually, okay, people aren't going to be able to go and poke it, prod it, turn it off. It's all going to be behind closed doors, which gives people a sense, a sense of certainty that it's not going to cause any hazards.
You spoke about the outside, you spoke external, you spoke about colours. Just on the subject, talk to us a little bit about colours on the outside of buildings.
Colours on the outside of buildings can be a fascinating thing in France. So the guys here are particularly protected because, one, they're in the Dordogne, which in itself has a very distinct colour palette. If you drive around the Dordogne, you instantly know you're here because all the shutters are the same colour, all the lampposts are the same colour, all the road signs are the same colour, and that's done on purpose. It happens in other parts of France too, but specifically in the Dordogne. And so they're very protective of that image. Mainly here because of the external, international image of the place. People, take a photo in the Dordogne, they show it to friends internationally, they know where it is, right? Because of the colour palette. So you won't be able to get away with painting your shutters in the colour you choose. You have to choose from a certain set of colours. Happens in the Dordogne, happens through other parts of France too, especially if you're in particularly protected areas. What springs to mind, so if you're working anywhere near Carcassonne, that has a very restrictive colour palette. Anywhere kind of any Bastide town in the southwest, they often apply quite a traditional restrictive colour palette. And so it's important to make sure that you're in line with that because it can cause delays. If you're not kind of on top of that in the design phase and try to propose something which is outside of the allowed palettes, it's not something fundamentally, they're not going to say, no, you're never going to be able to do it. It's just that there's sometimes you have to choose a colour closest to the one you want that's within the approvals.
You've got expertise across the whole of France. I mean, within that, are you saying that certain departments and certain areas just have different ways of doing things?
Yeah, so France is a massive country, but it's incredibly local. So you can find that, and it's in lots of things when it comes to design and planning. One commune to the next can have a different set of planning regulations. One house to the next can be affected by different regulations, and it's really understanding not necessarily the intricacies of a specific place, but how to interpret and find those regulations. And we do that very early on in the project. So as soon as a client comes to us, here's on my project, right, let's get all the regulations. Let's find out exactly as much as we can about this building so that we're designing something within a known set of parameters. Let's find out if the planning policies are coming up. Because we know how long these things take in terms of review periods, how long a planning policy lasts, which is generally 10 years. If we see a planning policy was, approved in 2014, we're now past 2024, are we using the old regs? Are the Mairie developing a new set of regs? Is it going to impact what we're trying to do in the future? Because we can't design anything. We can't design anything without knowing what the rules are. So as long as you know what the rules are, you can produce something coherent. Without knowing what those rules are, it's almost impossible and can be a waste of time. So understanding not necessarily the intricacies of every regulation in France, because that would be impossible, but exactly where to find them, who to ask to find out information is key to our day-to-day work, and also enables us to successfully deliver what we need to our clients.
With this first phase here at this particular project, you had really excited owners, they wanted to get on with it and everything. How do you manage a client in terms of they want to get going, but you've got to follow the process?
We are firm but fair, I would say. We're very clear up front to say, here's how it's going to work. You're in France, you can't really game the system. You're not going to get it through any faster by screaming and shouting. It's not going to happen. In fact, often screaming and shouting cause things to go slower. So it's just making sure that our clients are aware that it's a process. It is a process, and there are stop-go, there are gateways at certain points in the process, one being submission of application, one being the approval, there's admin to do when that happens. One being when you start the works, there's admin to do then. When you finish the works, there's also admin to do then, because it all wraps up. Planning is interconnected with taxation, and so there's a whole load of bureaucracy which happens, which we need to make sure happens, so that our clients are fully compliant with what they need to do. And it's just saying that don't try and push it. Yes, you want to get going. We'll try and get to there as quickly as we can, but there are certain things you need to do to make sure it's not going to cause you a headache 10 years hence. And if we can get all that wrapped up on, in the first 12 months, perfect.
Lastly for you, you love your subject, you love what you do for clients and everything is really varied, but what did you really enjoy about this project?
I guess it was the aspiration. So from seeing the project when we first walked through the door, when we were, initially kind of surveying the building to understand the spaces, really seeing the aspiration of these guys to develop something which was different. Because there's lots of restaurants and bars in France. But there's not many like this one. And so it's nice when someone goes, well, and understands that they are, as they said, just they have a period of time in the building and trying to make that building better for when they move off or it goes to someone else. And so just being able to deliver that. And now seeing it as it is fantastic. From seeing it what it was to now being able to be in the space and understanding what they've done is, if every client we have, came with us with such enthusiasm, it would be, a great thing. Not to say our clients are not enthusiastic, but this project was born out of a passion, I guess, for the brewing and this hospitality, and it's those passion projects that really, excite us as a team, and able to deliver something special.
And Tom, for you, you've done this first project, you've been involved in it, it's exciting, but there's a second project on the horizon, I believe. Yeah,
it's great. So there's a separate wing to this building, which is completely undeveloped, and the guys now wanted to develop it to improve their offering to the public, and so it's really picking up what's there, the bones of the building, and turning it into something, another part of this fantastic building.